Hey, thanks for tuning in to episode 6. I'm Troy,
I'm Trent.
and today we have with us the part-time critic.
Hello, I'm Kyle.
Friend,
Be back.
friend of the pod.
Don't call it that.
No, we're
Not a bunch of dolphins. But anyway, today we thought it would be a very topical time to get together because this morning, this afternoon today at about 12 o'clock noon, the 45th president of the United States was inaugurated. And we decided it would be a great afternoon to talk about the best movies of 2016. So,
meaningful distraction.
escapism is real.
We need
Let's do it.
fictional tales now more than ever.
I mean, it says a lot about the movie and what it says about us as people that we need them so much. But we are so happy to have Kyle back on the show. Kyle is internationally known as the part-time critic, making his reviews and his valuable insights on film and culture and faith available to us for next to no money.
It's nice to have a porpoise here in the pod.
How long did it take?
All
you?
right.
Okay.
Internationally known.
Yeah, you've been.
We're editing that out.
You've been staying up all night working on that one.
All right,
Also, I think it's no wonder that the reviews are huge. People are talking all over the World Wide Web about, among other things, the hottest podcast on your one-stop shop for podcast SoundCloud. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. But the highest rated, most listened to, most downloaded episode was episode 4, The Part-Time Critic. And so we just assumed that bringing the guest back would lead to even higher ratings because no one likes our other ones.
It's true.
I'm glad to bring my 2 listeners to join here too.
We're both right here, Kyle. For those of you who are maybe just joining us for the first time or don't know anything about what we do here, we have Kyle on periodically because he is our resident expert on the film industry and faith and culture. We love to discuss film and why it's important to us, why it's important to Kyle. Every year, Kyle creates his own version. I guess the best way to call it is like Kyle's version of the Oscars, the Academy Awards, known internationally, especially in China, cult following in China, as the Leaman Awards. Kyle, could you maybe just explain for us what your awards are? How long have you been doing this?
I started doing my own awards in 2003. That's when I really started getting serious about watching film, thinking about film. I had a couple other friends who were really into it, and one of them did his awards, and so I started doing mine. And we would do all the categories just like the Oscars. We love watching the Oscars as well. So we would do score and sound and actors and best picture and all that kind of stuff. And over the years, just kind of developed our own little style and added my own types of categories and special things and my own unique things like action scenes and drama scenes and catalog, all that kind of stuff. And then every year I have a party where I make my own little document, 25-page document, and we have a premiere party with those 2 friends still. We meet every year and do our own awards and premiere them and like our own little show.
Have you guys already
It's
met
great.
this year?
We did. We met last week, or this week, Tuesday.
Are you guys very far apart?
Yeah, one's in New York. He works in the film industry there, and one is Tallahassee, Florida, back there.
Where'd you guys get together?
Over Skype.
Well, that's awesome.
Google Hangout to be more precise.
Oh, that's the only way I choose to hang out with other people. And where, if someone was interested in seeing your awards, where could they find the complete rundown of all of this?
My internationally known website, KyleLeaman.com.
KyleLeaman.com, and they can follow you on social media at
Kyle Leaman.
Kyle Leaman. Leaman.
Lee, man.
There you go. Kyle, we have not got time to go over every single thing on here. But we want to spend today kind of highlighting a few of the categories that you have chosen to highlight. And before we get into, I guess these are all of these are the same categories that the Academy Awards have?
All the primary categories are. I add a couple things like Best Ensemble Acting, which is Screen Actors Guild Award. And then, of course, I have my own superlatives like Most Disappointing and Most Overlooked. And
Yeah, can't wait to get into those in a few minutes. But you also have a top action scenes or action sequence in film every year. I don't think the Academy does that. I don't think the Golden Globes do that. Does anybody do that, or is that a you thing?
I'm sure there's some website dedicated to it that's incredible and is amazing at it. But I love action. That's one of my favorite genres. I love action films, and especially any film that's doing something new in action or is cutting edge. And so I always catalog. I have my own database of action scenes as well. So every action movie I watch, I catalog the scene.
I know we've talked about this in the past, and I shouldn't bring it up because this could ruin the whole podcast. But do you have your own Jackie Chan database, or is it just its own?
It's not a separate database. It's part of the action scenes database.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm particularly interested in Chan's action scenes.
You will be back, and there will be a exclusive Jackie Chan episode, and we're gonna send it to Jackie and see what he has to say about it. He's gonna be thrilled.
So, how would you like to start, Troy? Do you want to start with some of the supplemental awards, or do you want to go through some of the more traditional ones?
Here in just a few minutes, we're gonna move into some of the more traditional and the supplemental awards that Kyle has chosen to include in his version of his awards. But Kyle, could you maybe why do you think it's important to have the categories that you have?
It's just a mask. It's just a fake front, so I can watch a lot of movies and make it look like make it look like I'm serious about it. It's to me, it's part of enjoying the movies. They think about them more, appreciate the different aspects of them. So some of the awards, some people may not be interested in the sound design or the craft of the makeup, but to me, the more you think about it, at first it's a lot of work when you watch a movie to say, oh, I want to pay attention this time to how the music sounds or how the sound was designed. And so it actually does feel like work. When I first started this, I used to carry a notepad into watch in the theater, and I'd write stuff down when I saw it. How can you watch all that and the performances and the stories and so forth?
You have to watch it more than once.
And I would do that, but the more you did that, the more it just became second nature. And now when you watch films, you can't help but pay attention to that stuff. And to me, that's just a richer experience now. So doing this has just made me a better watcher of film, and that's one of the things I love. And I think then it's better, like more ambassador of film, in the sense that you can invite other people to experience those things as well in a deeper way.
Well, and in a way too, you're kind of inviting them into like yourself.
Yeah.
Because by selecting these categories, you're also saying what you as a person find important in a film.
Yeah. I think that, in fact, I would say like top 10 lists, which I love. I love making lists.
Yeah. Oh, we'll have another one here. Top
me,
250
lists,
songs ever.
Are never definitive in the sense of like this is the objective best. To me, they're more like invitations to what I found enriching or powerful or moving or enjoyable. And they're more like, this is what I invite you to enjoy. I hope you enjoy it as well.
Read my list, kids. It's an invitation to me. Love ya. Love Kyle.
That's right.
Kyle, could you tell us a little bit, maybe just overview for us your year in film? What have you been up to this year to prepare for this list?
So this was a pretty good year overall. I watched about 85 films, which is pretty good for me. It's about average what I watch. About 25 of those maybe in theater. Most of the rest just through Netflix or DVDs.
Wait, can I clarify one thing?
Yeah.
Is that 85 new films, fresh films?
Anything that's released within the film year 2016.
Okay, but that doesn't include...
Catching up on old films.
Yeah, just rewatching old movies.
No, in that case, I probably watched like 120 or something.
Okay.
Throughout the year, maybe more than that.
So 85 new 2016 films.
Correct. Yeah.
Awesome.
Anything that would qualify for these awards. So 85 of them, and then cataloged them, and pretty much anything that is either a cult hit, popular hit, critical hit, part of a director's au revoir or whatever you would call that, nominated for an award or possibly going to be nominated, or something that I actually have interest in. Then I try to see it. So it's films that I didn't get to see this year. For those who care, it would be something like Jackie. I've missed some of the smaller films. 20th Century Women. You may see those pop up at the Oscars.
Natalie Portman.
I know. I got tired. I mean, by this time, I'm just tired of 2016 films. I've seen enough. I'm done and ready to be moving on to 2017.
Well, to me, Natalie Portman can never top Attack of the Clones. So anything from that point on would be a disappointment. So I'm never going to watch a Natalie Portman film.
That's fair. All right, well, Kyle, let's go ahead and let's start digging into the Kyle Leaman 2016 awards.
Okay. I want to start with superlatives
Okay, let's do it.
because I like that, or supplemental, or whatever we're calling this.
The supplemental 2016 Leaman Awards, aka my favorite thing that Kyle does.
So
I think they're great.
we're going to ask about a couple of these really quickly. Let's start with most underrated film. This is underrated. You mean it got less critical or financial acclaim or both or?
Yeah, so underrated has to do with like critical response,
Okay.
not how much money it made. It has to do with like it's a film that I think deserved more critical or just general acceptance as a good quality film, whereas the general kind of response was it's not a good film. So this was where that was the distinct, I guess you'd say, what was the largest difference between what it should have been, according to me, and what it got.
And your nominees were 13 Hours, Greater, and Young Messiah. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
And one of which I have heard of. And your winner was Greater. Can you give me a 10-second? What was so great about that one? What was so great about
Tell us
that?
what greater's greater.
So last year, actually, surprising film year for Christian films, because I'm in general, I think faith-inspired films coming from Christian kind of groups tend to be bad films. They just tend to be one-note stories with kind of flimsy characters.
You did not like God's Not Dead 2?
No, one of the worst films of the year.
If not of all time.
But Greater is one of those kind of faith-based films. It's about a walk-on to Arkansas football, who became like the greatest walk-on of all time as an offensive lineman. And no spoiler, the film does this in the opening act. He dies a tragic kind of death. But what's surprising about it as a Christian-based film is it's not really about that character who's the guy who does everything. It's about his brother who's dealing with his death and dealing with it in a faith sense. And for the not first time, but which is rare in a Christian film, the opposite side is allowed to have winning arguments of like, why did this happen? Why did God allow this to happen? Is there any greater purpose? And normally it's obvious that those are the wrong, that's just shot down immediately. Anyone who thinks that is kicked out of a Christian film immediately, and then everyone wins. But it's actually it's allowed to sit, it's allowed to marinate, it's given credence and credibility, and it's not fully answered by the end, because in real life we have some answers to it, but those things are hard to understand. And so the movie really accurately reflects the difficulty of those situations. And for a Christian film, was much better. Then a lot of critics just said it's another one of these Christian films that doesn't really get into depth, and I just don't think that they thought enough about it.
To show my ignorance, is the Young Messiah, is that also a Christian film?
Yeah,
That
you put
is.
a quote on here from it, and I've honestly never seen this film advertised. I know nothing about it.
Yeah, that was another surprising one. I think it was based on Anne Rice's novel, and so it kind of fills in and kind of imagines what the young
little baby
childhood
Jesus.
of Jesus was, right? where it's blank in the scriptures, and so a lot of Christians initially just reject it or going outside the Bible,
Yeah.
but it's very infused with biblical like imagery and themes and what you would expect maybe to think about with a young Christ, and it's just very thoughtful and well done. It's not perfect, but for a Christian film, it's surprisingly well done. I think it stands well as a good film.
So that's most underrated. Most overrated, you've got Deadpool. You've got Everybody Wants Some.
And
you got Rogue One. So
Yes.
Deadpool's your winner. I've not seen Deadpool. I was told that I would feel dumber if I saw it.
Well, here's
so.
everything you need to know about Deadpool. You can know from this. I watched it on an airplane coming back from Paris.
Yeah.
I slept through the entire second act of the film, and it meant no difference. It was just a bunch of stupid, crass jokes. And it was like, it broke the fourth wall. It was a film that was in on itself, but at no point did it do anything with any of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. What were you thought?
I mean, that's its play, right? It's that we're grosser. Kind of like back in 2004 when, or was it 2004? Knocked Up, I think maybe 2005, when Knocked Up came out, the Judd Apatow kind of comedies. It was R-rated. It was kind of the comeback of the R-rated comedy. Super Bad and all those films started to come out, and they were crasser, they were vulgar, they did things, and everybody was really shocked and surprised. And now that's standard. And that was this was the first time really a superhero did this kind of stuff. It was kind of hip, it was meta, it was in on the jokes, but at the same time it was just vulgar and funny and R-rated. And so it had that. I mean, if I was a teenager, I probably would have dug it. Now I don't. I just think it's silly. I didn't think it was that funny. But even if I did find that stuff great, I think what that paired with a story that was untraditional as well, I think would have been a better movie. But what surprised me about why this is so overrated to me is it's another traditional superhero origin story that does nothing different than any other traditional origin story.
He gets the girl,
and it's not even that good as an origin story, and it's super traditional. It's all the same moves. The action is not that great, and all it has working for it is the vulgar comedy. So if you like that, you'd probably praise it. But what surprised me is that it's not just the popular. It's not that it was, I forget the box office stats, it was huge. It surprised everybody how huge it was.
Yeah.
But that critically, I think it was 80% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Something like that.
Really embraced by critics, and that just surprises me.
Well, then transitioning rather nicely, you've also, this will be our last supplemental award.
Oh no, we got to talk about the others.
Oh, well,
Go ahead.
Never mind.
You go.
But this is where I leave the conversation. You've also got Deadpool as one of your nominees for worst film of the year, along with God's Not Dead 2. And
he wasn't dead the first time. He's not deader now.
Independence Day Resurgence, as a friend of mine called Independence Day Returgence.
Detergent?
Yeah. So which you have given the winner to Bill Pullman and the boys in Independence Day 2. Why was that so bad?
Yeah, so this is the opposite of inviting people to enjoy the best of a year. This would be the stay away, don't go see Independence Day 2. Resurgent. I think it's everything wrong with blockbuster filmmaking rolled into one. There's no need for it. They didn't have like a stellar new idea. In fact, the cool idea they could have done, they hint at the end. Like, we're going to go, I won't give a spoiler. But the coolest idea for a sequel, they just hint at as maybe that's our next sequel. And they just redo the first movie completely. They reboot it, which is in fashion now, soft reboot.
Yeah.
We'll bring in old characters. It's still a sequel, but we're going to reboot it, and hope everyone takes it. This is the episode 7 Jurassic World approach. Mm-hmm. And it's horrible. It's profoundly stupid. The action scenes are...
It's just horrible.
It's bad. I don't know. It's not funny. It's offensive at times. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work in the way the first one did, which was also cheesy at times, but just managed to work. And sometimes you can't explain why one works and one doesn't, but it just didn't.
Can I ask you one thing, though, as a person who's never seen the film? Was Goldblum?
Yeah, that's what I'm with.
Yeah.
Was he getting in there being Goldblum?
That's the thing is, you couldn't even enjoy him. He's a likable character. How do you not give something where the situations he was in were so ridiculous, you couldn't even enjoy the Goldblumisms.
Hey, I'm pretty sure in that first movie he hacked an alien mothership with a MacBook, or whatever they were called back in the day.
You underestimate how much worse it could get than that. Like, that's silly, but it's not nearly as silly as this gets.
I think I got my plans for this evening.
Yep. Hey, before we move on to
That's not what I wanted to do with that word. Stay away.
It's a warning.
It's not even fun back.
I think that's what we told those aliens.
It's not even fun back.
You bit out of here. Before we move on from the supplemental stuff, hey viewers, seriously go check this out. You could also see what is considered the most overwatched film, most overrated film. You could learn more about, as an invitation into Kyle, his guilty pleasure film of 2016. But one last thing to touch on, Kyle. I love that you have this in here. It's such a great category. You might even say it's silly of so many other awarding agencies to not. It's like they've overlooked this category. I really had to. I was working for that one. What would you say is the most overlooked film of 2016?
Yeah, so overlooked is my way of saying, like, this was, maybe it got a lot of critical praise, but it was still never embraced by kind of a mass audiences.
Sure.
And Miss Sloane came out last, I think November or October, political kind of thriller. It was just so much fun. It was awesome. Great performances, slickly made. if you liked State of Play back in '09, I think that was, it's just better than that. It makes more sense. It's Chastain's fantastic. Yeah, it's overlooked. It wasn't embraced. It bombed at the box office. So highly recommend going to see that
Awesome.
since nobody did.
I want to transition to a bigger category with you, Kyle. And I don't know that I've seen other people do this. I think this is a really great thing. You do what you call the ambassadors list, where you take 25 films and you say that these are the 25 films that represent 2016. Could you maybe just expand on that? What do you look for in a film to reflect a year?
Yeah, so this is really the extension of my idea of an invitation. So if I were to, because I saw so many movies, and sometimes I think well, if I had to boil this movie year down, and not just to 5 films or 10, because when you see that many, there's a lot of good ones. We put out a lot of good movies still, and so if I had to boil it down to 25 that just kind of represented a year that I would want to hand to somebody to say, if you only watch 25, which is reasonable, 2 a month or so, this year, these are the ones I'd want you to watch. And I try to have a diversity, not just great films, but a diversity of action films, drama films, comedy films. So I take all that into mindset, but it does have a me bias. So there's action, and there's not a lot of comedy because I think comedy is struggling. I think there's one committed comedy on here, and that's Don't Think Twice. Other than that, it's hard to find straight up comedy anymore that makes a list for me. But that's where it comes from, is if I could only have 25 films to say this represents the year to me, the best of that year, that's what I'd want you to watch.
Okay, well then let's keep pushing into the invitation of you. And could you maybe just bring us along on your journey through your top 10 on your ambassador list? These are not your top 10 overall films of 2016, but these are, I guess, are they the top 10 films that you think represent the year as a whole?
Are you talking about my top 10 list?
Is that separate from the ambassador list? Here's where I'm at.
So yeah, those would be so I have a top 10. I actually number the top 10
Oh, I see.
because I want to order that. And then after that, so the next 15 to get up to 25 are just alphabetical. It's really too hard to nitpick between number 16 and 17 of the year. So I just make those alphabetical. But I definitely do a top 10 just in case somebody's like, well, I can't watch 25 films. Well, here's 10.
Okay. Well, then in that
Watch
case,
these 10.
So would those 10, would those give away other categories that if we talked about those?
why don't we circle back?
Yeah.
Kyle, why don't we jump through really quick and we'll hit some of the major awards that we could probably expect. The Academy, the Golden Globes, Screen Actors Guild, all these other people are going to tell us why they think they're right, but we know who the real winner is. We know who the real part-time critic is.
That's right.
Should we start, let's say, with cinematography?
Yeah, because I started before we went on air,
Oh my.
I said, Kyle, what is cinematography? And you gave me a nice succinct answer, which was?
The shortest way to put it is how the film looks, what it looks like. So think of a painter who paints a scene. How am I going to compose that scene? What do I want it to look like? And then what kind of lighting am I going to use to light that scene? So those are the two main kind of components that I look at. Does the camera move? How does it move? And the cinematographer is basically in charge of that camera. What's going to be in frame? How's it going to be composed? And what's it going to look like? What's the lighting or colors or what?
And your nominees were Arrival, La La Land, Lion, didn't know that was a film,
Kyle loved it.
Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and Silence. And your winner was?
La La Land.
Why?
La La Land's beautiful. So Damien Chazelle's kind of a new director. He did Whiplash. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see that a couple years ago.
Loved it.
Technically speaking, he's incredible. I mean, editing, filming, he knows what he's doing. And La La Land's just gorgeous. Like, it's kind of an ode to old Hollywood and just the colors, the lush colors, the way they use the camera, the way it moves. It's beautiful. The side tracking shots they use, just a beautiful idea. Kind of just a callback to a lot of musicals, 50s musicals, yet with a modern kind of feel to it. It's just some of the best lighting work and camera work I've seen this year. Yeah.
We haven't talked about this one.
No, let's do that.
Another one that I'm interested in is you have Best Documentary Feature, Last Man on the Moon, OJ, Made in America, and Wiener, about the disgraced congressman. And your winner was?
Wiener.
You were talking about that before we hit record and how it impacted you.
He's asking you to explain why
Yeah.
you picked that movie.
Yeah.
So probably one of the most underrated categories of genres of film nowadays is documentary. There are so many good documentaries coming out now, all the time. So Wiener came out, and it's with not a lot of fanfare, mostly because he's disgraced, and I didn't expect to like it either because I was not a big fan of his as well. And when he ran for mayor of New York, he allowed a documentary crew to come in and film everything. Not a great idea. He didn't think he would implode. He thought it would probably be a victory kind of film of how he came back from the ashes of his scandal in Congress and became mayor, and there would be this great documentary footage of all the behind the scenes, how he worked with his campaign. But instead, it just became this incredible fly on the wall view of almost everything we dislike about politics confirmed. The pride, the ambition, the spinning, the lies, the loyalty that staff members will have, kind of blind loyalty sometimes. And then, unfortunately, you also see the stuff you don't want to admit, that these people do in some ways have noble aspirations and really do care, that they're just humans. And they have those kind of frailties. And the film just shows all of that stuff in an honest, kind of straightforward way without making you one way or the other, in my opinion. Hate them or love them, you just kind of watch what happens with the campaign. And it's I think, needed really at this time. I think it just shows you the humanity behind the whole situation. But it was a strong year last year for documentaries. So if you're looking for something, go see Last Man on the Moon. It's about Eugene Cernan. He just passed away. He was the last man to step on the moon.
Yeah.
About the whole Apollo space program. Really, he's in the entirety of that space program. But also really what the cost was and how he lost out on a lot of family life and things like that is really good.
Big year for space in movies this year.
Huge.
Okay.
Let's jump down to some of the bigger stuff. All right, so I think we could probably have you explain screenplays, your favorite adapted, your favorite original. We could have you probably take 20 minutes to tell us why Moana was your favorite animated film of the year. But we're going to keep on moving on down the line. Why don't you run us through your best supporting actress and best supporting actor? What do you look for in those performances as a supporting role?
Yeah. For those who watch the Oscars and you're wondering how they get nominated, or you watch another movie and you like the character, here it's okay to nominate someone based on the character. Did you like the character? It's not just all about technical prowess. And so if you like the character and they were technically good, like the performance is technically fantastic, that's the right mixture you're looking for. Like, there's times where an actor technically is fantastic, but the character is boring.
Unlikable.
Yeah, or unlikable. There's good unlikable, like if it's a bad guy.
Sure.
Like from, with Christoph Waltz in
Sure.
Tarantino's films, something
Sure.
like that. But there's also boring. And even though it was like incredible, it just wasn't written well. It wasn't a good movie, even though the actor's doing the best they can. So that's what I look for in these supporting roles. Do they bring something to the story? Do they fill out? Sometimes they're like subplots. So, for instance, my best supporting actor is probably not going to get nominated for any Academy Award, but Jack Rayner from Sing Street had this. It's kind of like the reincarnation. I don't know if you guys seen Almost Famous.
Yeah, I love
Philip
Almost
Seymour
Famous.
Hoffman's
It's actually
character in that.
we could do a whole podcast on Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh my gosh, tell me about it. Anyways, it's kind of the reincarnation of that, but in a kind of a young person, and his little subplot character, this arc of redemption, that's really touching, really moving, well acted too. But it's a lot of times it's the character you're looking for, and so Michelle Williams in Manchester by the Sea would be the perfect mix of technicals. Not only is the character heartbreaking, but technically speaking, it's just performed. You'll never forget it. If you've seen the movie, even if you don't like the movie, you walk away being moved by her and the performance. And so she just brings something so huge to that film.
Just as I was moved by her performance in Dawson's Creek.
Is that how she got started?
That was her peak as well. So we have Dawson's Creek and Attack of the Clones as the two standout
boy.
features.
I mean, I never
developing the Ashcraft Awards.
I
here.
never watched Dawson's Creek as a young man or took fashion advice from it.
Well, okay. He's
I don't want to
lying on
wait
both of those accounts.
for this line of conversation to be over.
Yeah, all right. So let's. I'm embarrassed. Your best actress and your best actor of 2016.
So in the movie Fences, which is based on a Broadway play, so super acting. It's all dramatic.
Yeah. Oh,
acting.
yeah. It's all monologues in close up.
Yeah, Viola Davis, who to me she's the heir to Meryl Streep.
Oh yeah.
She can do no wrong. She's fantastic, and she is fantastic in this. The Oscars are going to put her in supporting. Don't be fooled. She is in almost every scene.
She was the only element of Fences that I enjoyed.
So you saw it.
I saw it.
Yeah. She's. You didn't enjoy Washington's performance, Denzel?
I thought it was a great performance, but
But
I
the character. you
did
didn't
not like the character.
There you go. Yeah.
So we're gonna put her as best actress. She was in a very dramatic role and in a very emotionally moving role.
Yeah.
Uh,
That always helps.
I
to
ne-
stand out. Yeah.
well, I want to ask you this: I never saw Suicide Squad, but I'm led to believe she was in that too. Did she steal the show in it as well?
You know, she's actually nominated for a Best Supporting Actress for Suicide
You're
Squad.
kidding me.
I didn't like Suicide Squad. I thought it was pretty okay, not great. I actually have an award called the Eric Bana Award.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you at the very end what your Eric Bana of 2016
So Eric
is.
Bana award goes back to the movie Troy when I first started getting into movies.
That's right,
Not
baby.
a very good movie,
Huh.
but Eric Bana was
Name
in
me.
that, and I thought he was fantastic. And I thought I can't nominate him because it's a horrible movie. And so I came up with this award for it's the best performance in a bad film. And so she'd win that easily because she's that movie. She's
Okay.
the grounding. She's the core. That movie only makes sense and feels somewhat real because Viola Davis makes it make sense. It's amazing.
Awesome. Well, then I don't have to ask you about your Eric Bana award later. Who was your best actor? Actor.
Did either of you
2016.
guys get a chance to see Manchester by the Sea?
I've only heard it's the best film I'll ever see in my life, but I've never.
Oh,
watched
really?
it. Yeah.
If you want to be depressed, it's a
Oh.
really depressing,
Yikes.
very dramatic film. Casey Affleck, though, is the acting is so natural. It's so relaxed. It's almost underacting at times, and then there's a couple moments where everything wells up, and it'll just stick with you. There's a couple scenes, if you see the movie, will stand out, and you walk away going, I don't think I'll ever see a better performance this year.
Wow.
It's head and shoulder. There's not even a competition this year for me.
Okay. Wow. And it's interesting to hear you say that. I can't help but notice you also include a Best Ensemble Acting Award, which you also awarded, since your supporting role and your lead role both came from Manchester by the Sea. I guess I should have expected it, but your Best Ensemble Acting Award was Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah, and even more so that there's a lot of side characters and side roles that are just all played very naturally and very well. And the whole movie just feels like you're watching real life in a good way.
All right. Well, we've talked about an actress who we think can do no wrong. Give me a 1-minute spiel on your best director, who I have become very, very fond of over the last couple years. But can you explain to me why my boy?
Can you say his name, Troy?
Is it Villeneuve?
I don't know. I was hoping
Villeneuve?
you would set the tone.
Denis Villeneuve?
Denis Villeneuve, or
The man who can
Villeneuve?
do no wrong?
Yeah. When did you first get in? What was your first movie that you liked of his?
Chronologically, or when I saw it?
Uh,
I don't know. I was blown away by the movie Arrival this
Okay.
year. It would have been my personal, the Troy Phillippe Awards. Arrival was my best movie of the year. It was just such a well-told, beautifully written story about so much, but every element of the film was carefully put there.
Yeah.
And I love seeing that on the screen. It just so happened my wife and I watched his film Sicario a few weeks ago, was blown away by that. Turned out the same director.
Yeah.
So I've been slowly starting to look back into his work. And what else has he directed? I know I've seen
Prisoners is
Prisoners. That was a movie that stuck with me when I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
I had never seen a kidnap movie that was so emotionally gripping. I also kind of like Paul Dano, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I
So-
think you're right. And for director, for me, and I could be, other people look for different things, but to me, they're kind of like the captain of the ship. Does everything come together? Does the theme, does the story, do the actors' performances, does the craft, the cinematography, does this film score, does it all come together to make one cohesive whole? And that to me is the director's ultimate job. Maybe that tends to be producers' work as well, but I tend to put them all together.
Jasmine Hong, please come to the board.
So,
Jasmine Hong.
to me, Arrival is a immense.
There's a lot of strange sounds here at the quarry.
What was that?
That was some rocks. Anyway.
Arrival is just a perfect achievement of all that stuff coming together.
Yeah, I felt
mean,
the exact same way.
It looks, sounds, it's acted incredibly well, and the director's primarily responsible for those performances. But they have their hand in everything else, depending on. I mean, if it's a Marvel movie, they have their hand in less. But,
True.
But they make sure everything's supposed to come together, and to me, Arrival, the direction at least, it all just works perfectly.
Yeah.
And that's a tough movie. There's a lot of moving parts that they have to get
yeah.
right, and it does.
It's hard to do sci-fi well and to tell a very human movie about communication story at the same time. And the importance of being able to communicate and have empathy for one another. I don't know.
The only other sci-fi film to do that, Attack of the Clones.
All right.
I don't want to wait.
I think we found our new theme song for the podcast.
All right. Well, I think I can think of no better way to wind down here than to have Kyle quickly walk us through, from maybe 10 to 1, your top films of 2016.
Okay. Well, number 10, Kubo and the Two Strings is an animated film. Go see it. If you liked Coraline,
I did.
2009,
I did.
then here's a great little story that's willing to go kind of dark. Maybe a little rough for little kids. But in the end, tells a great story about family, even though it makes a little mistake at the end. Number 9, OJ Made in America. Great, long documentary series chronicling not just OJ and what happened with him, but paralleling it with race, and in particularly in LA and in America.
Another movie a little bit too rough for the kids.
Should that be noted on this?
I thought
podcast?
if the glove don't fit, you must
quit.
bring
That's right.
bring the kid.
Number
Show
8
show the child.
is that documentary Last Man on the Moon. I think it's definitely worth a watch. Go
Film
see
about Andy Kaufman. No, that's not that.
You'll love Carrie's performance. in
wasn't Kubrick.
7 is that lion film that you hadn't heard of. Think of Slumdog Millionaire, but without the happiness. until a certain moment.
It's a great
that
family film.
I won't spoil. Well made. I think it's an Australian film about a kid who gets lost from his family in India, and eventually adopted by a family in Australia, and tries to find his home.
I thought you were telling a story.
So it's like
Jungle Book.
Homeward Bound, but with people.
Exactly.
All right.
Based on a true story.
Hey, number 6. I know number 6. Le Petit Prince.
Exactly, the adaptation of the French
Netflix original film.
It is
Not shown on the big screen. I
And
love the animation in it.
a whole bunch added into the story to make it a
Yep.
full length feature. But I think done well, adapted really well and smartly to modern times, and very moving and touching.
Yep.
I wanted to go and buy a little fox character.
I actually literally bought the plush Fox character for my wife for Christmas.
Did
'cause
you
she-
really?
Yeah, we watched it together. She loved it. Anyway, I'm a good husband. Get on my level.
You risk the weeping of tears if you allow
I
yourself
never
to
will.
be tamed, Philippine.
Oh man, what a line!
I bought my wife some shoes.
And a DVD copy
See
of
the-
Attack of the Clones.
Here's where you can go wrong with shoes. Okay, everybody, listen. If you mess them up just a little bit, the feet hurt forever, and you never hear the end of it. Moving on.
Among other things. Moana is number 5. Of all the major Disney releases in the last decade, maybe, I think this is the best. I think one of the under-the-radar things on this film,
You're
for those who are interested, there's actually a element of spirituality and kind of gods in this that I think is really important to the storyline.
That's what I look for in a film featuring Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Exactly. It's fantastic. Also, the music's fantastic. 4 is the documentary I talked about, Wiener. Go see it if you get a chance. Miss Sloane is the underrated, underseen political thriller with Jessica Chastain. And number 2 is Silence, the
Ooh.
Martin Scorsese epic
I have
based on
not
a
yet seen Silence.
Japanese novel.
Have you read the novel as well?
I did. I got a chance to read it in college as part of a small group. It's a tough novel. It's really challenging. A lot of layers to it. To a faith. What is faith? And so it's a 1600s tale of Jesuits, missionaries to Japan enduring persecution, and a lot of intellectual layers that go with it. It's incredibly well shot. If you don't mind sitting through tough, slow-moving, intellectual, meditative, contemplative type films,
Great
then
popcorn
go
movie.
see Silence. Yeah, that's definitely a better one
Date
maybe to watch
night.
at home. And then my number one film, like Mr. Troy Philippi here, is Arrival. I thought it was a really moving experience by the end. The way it's edited, the way the themes, the story, the message. Best sci-fi film I've seen since maybe Minority Report.
Is it better than Attack of the Clones?
Hey now, I don't even know if Attack of the Clones can be compared to things.
Among other things.
It's so
You're
unique
probably right.
and among its own things. Yeah,
It's among its own things.
exactly.
Just like us, read our lists and be invited into ourselves.
I'm shocked that we've made it through a conversation about films in 2016 without mentioning the finest film in 2016, Zoolander 2. It changed my life.
Was that not
had some
2015?
funny moments.
I didn't know when it was, but I saw it on the list
Yeah.
of eligible films, so I assumed.
All right, well, hey, thanks for listening. Part-time critic, thanks for
Thanks
being
for
here.
having me.
KyleLeaman.com. Arrival's the greatest film. Now it's time for us to depart.
Oof.
I'm Trent.
I'm Troy.
I'm Kyle.
It's been among other things.